All right, so we're diving into the fast lane today, huh? This Wikipedia article on China's car scene you sent, what a wild ride. How they went from like 0 to 100 in the global auto world.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, becoming the world's biggest vehicle producer, that's not just a little engine that could. That's a whole fleet of ambition right there.
Totally. It's like they said, hold my sing toe, and just floored it. But before we get into like the Tesla battling present, where did this whole thing even begin?
Well, this article points to, like, the 1950s, right? But it wasn't sleek sedans rolling off the line back then. Think more like workhorse trucks, fueling industrial growth, you know?
That's right. Gotta crawl before you can cruise.
Exactly, laying the groundwork. And speaking of groundwork, there's this car, the Dongfeng CA71. It was the first car they ever actually produced in China.
Oh, yeah. The article mentioned that 58, right? Can you imagine? That must have been a huge deal.
Totally. Talk about national pride. This little sedan, it was like a symbol of China saying, we're in the car game now, folks.
And I bet you can't even find one of those now for less than like a gazillion dollars. But they weren't content with just like basic sedans, were they?
Oh, no, no, no. They knew they needed like a boost to get to the next level. So come the 80s, boom, China opens its doors to foreign car makers. Volkswagen, General Motors, you name it, they're all setting up shop.
Ah, the old joint venture strategy. Two birds, one engine block.
Exactly. But this wasn't just about like slapping cars together. This was tech transfer on a massive scale. Chinese companies weren't just building. They were learning the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts of like world-class car making.
Like a masterclass in automotive engineering, taught by the giants themselves.
Exactly. And they were like the best students ever.
Hmm.
By the 2000s, we start to see Chinese automakers going, like, okay, we got this, and start developing their own brand.
And suddenly you've got names like SE Ice Motor coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. And SAIC, they're a perfect example of how China played the long game. Government backing, strategic partnerships, boom, they're a global player now. Not just making cars, making waves.
It's kind of like they went from student to like master in record time.
Yeah. It's incredible.
But it's not just gas guzzlers and gear shifts anymore, right? There's this whole other engine driving their car industry, the electric one.
Right. And it's not just about the cars themselves. It's like they're building this whole electric ecosystem, like charging stations, battery tech, the whole shebang.
Yeah, the article talked about that. They're really going all in on that charging infrastructure, which a lot of other countries still seem to be struggling with.
It's a smart move. They're not waiting around for, like, the chicken and egg problem to solve itself. They're saying, we'll have both, thank you very much.
I like their style. But let's talk about the cars themselves. We hear a lot about Tesla, Rivian, the usual suspects. But this article brought up some Chinese EV makers I'd never even heard of.
Oh, yeah, they've got some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
BYD, for example. Warren Buffett is an investor. I mean, that's got to tell you something right there.
Talk about a vote of confidence. And he's not exactly known for, like, throwing money at every shiny new thing he sees.
Exactly. He sees the potential just like on a global scale.
Yeah.
But they're not just focused on like the luxury market either. They're making EVs for everyone, like that Wuling Hongguang mini EV. It's like the hottest car in China right now, and it's tiny and affordable.
The article mentioned that one. It's like shockingly cheap. I mean, who needs a Tesla when you can zip around in one of those?
Right. It proves that you don't need a luxury price tag to get people excited about electric. But here's the thing that's got me really thinking. So we've got this powerhouse industry, right? Pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But what does it actually mean for, like, the average person?
Yeah, good point. I mean, I'm not an engineer or a CEO. What's the takeaway for me?
Well, for starters, it impacts the global economy. We're talking about supply chains, resource demands, like lithium for batteries. This isn't just a Chinese story, it's a global one.
So what happens in those Chinese factories affects all of us, even if we never buy one of those cars.
Exactly. And then there's the innovation factor. China's pushing hard on EVs, self-driving cars, all that. They're not just shaping the future of cars. They're shaping the future of how we get around, period.
It's like they're writing the next chapter in the transportation revolution.
And they're writing it fast.
So it's like a whole new world of opportunity, but also like a lot of competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The article basically said the Chinese EV market makes the Hunger Games look like a picnic.
Right. And for investors, that's got to be like both exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time.
It's high risk, high reward. Investors need to be really careful, do their homework. Like, what's a company's track record? What kind of tech do they have? Will their plan even work in a market that changes like every 5 minutes?
And then there's the whole government angle, right? The article talked about how China's really pushing EVs, but it's not always easy to figure out what the rules are, what they'll do next.
You got that right. The government's got their hands on the wheel for sure. Subsidies, incentives, all these big plans for getting more EVs on the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, those policies, they can shift gears pretty fast.
So it's not as easy as just like throwing your money at the shiniest car on the lot.
Nope. Got to look under the hood, understand what's driving this whole thing. But, there's this whole other level to this that we haven't even touched on yet.
What's that?
What if China isn't just changing the car, but changing the whole idea of owning a car?
Whoa, okay, now you've really lost me.
Think about it. Ride-hailing with all-electric fleets, self-driving cars everywhere,
Yeah.
sharing becoming the norm. They're not just building vehicles, they're rethinking the whole relationship we have with cars.
So instead of I own a car, it's more like I use transportation.
Exactly. And that shift, it could spread way beyond China.
Wow. It's like we're watching a whole new transportation revolution unfold, and China's in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And that's why this is so much bigger than just like engines and horsepower. It's about the future of how we get around, how it impacts the planet, even global power dynamics.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. This country that was once playing catch-up is now, like, rewriting the rule book. So I guess if there's one thing for our listeners to remember, it's this. Keep an eye on China. Because this automotive journey, yeah, it's just getting started.